It's raining, y'all. Y'all might hear some thunder, some lightning. But you hear it? It's probably the topic because it wasn't raining until I brought this topic up, until I decided to record this video. We're going to talk about building connections and friendships as an adult because it is truly different. It's different from when you are a kid and you're in class and you're in close proximity to people all the time, the same people. So you just automatically build this friendship, this connection, just off of close proximity. Is so different. And as someone who's always struggled with connections and feeling misunderstood, because I did grow up pretty on the poor side of the South, and if anybody knows that experience, you know how dysfunctional and traumatic it can be on many different levels. Now, one of the biggest things I learned about building connections is you're not just dealing with the person. It's not just like school or when you're a kid and you walk up to someone and you're like, hey, can we be friends? It's not like that. You're dealing with so much trauma, their abuse, their neglect, their insecurities, their jealousy, their inability to get up and act. You're dealing with so many things. You're dealing with their victim mindset. You're dealing with patterns. Now, I was so used to seeing these behaviors in people who were way older than me, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I've seen it in 70-year-olds who don't want to change. But what I failed to realize is it did start with people my age, where I would see my family's patterns and I'll be like, I don't want to do that or be that way. So I actively take steps to change that, to recognize my patterns, to take accountability, to learn from those things. I would have people on my side, my age, who felt the exact same way. The only difference was they were just talking. Okay? They were just talking while I was actively doing the work, actively taking accountability. It's so hard to have conversations with people when you are trying to learn how to communicate effectively and you are met with defensiveness as an adult. You're met with so many different things, and it is like, whoa. Now, will I say, is it worth it? Yeah, if you want friends, it's gonna have to be worth it. It's gonna have to be. Now, talking to my elders about building connections, they all said the same kind of thing, which is you don't need too many friends. One or two good friends, that's enough. Or they'd be like, girl, I don't even try no more. And I feel that so heavily. But again, as a southerner, I know community and I know what community can do for a person. So I've been trying to build community in many different forms. As an artist, I've had to kind of, even when I was uncomfortable, put myself in spaces and places to meet people. Listen, Southerners, we like to talk. We friendly. We can talk to just about anybody about anything. I'm sorry, y'all. Some of my lips or something. But yeah, so that was never my problem. I can walk up to anybody. But I didn't recognize that, hey, even though these people are saying they want to change, that doesn't mean they're going to take the steps. And I had to too realize I had to be okay with kind of being alone and building myself up because a lot of people didn't want to build next to me. A lot of people, again, just like to talk. I had to be okay with letting people go who weren't ready to grow. People who never grow, I can't. They stunt your growth. Listen, if you are down a dark tunnel, you and your friend, and they're sitting on the ground like this, and you see the light at the end of the tunnel, you just like, girl, I see it. Like, come on. You're going to be dragging their body so long, you might not make it out of there, girl. Sometimes you got to let them folk go. You got to let them go. I've been in many different situations where I've been the floater friend, where I'm thinking I have a big connection with this person, and they have a whole group that I'm not even a part of. Sometimes I would be a part of a group and they would have their own group chats without me in them. And I'm like, the hell? What have I done? Like, what am I doing? But again, I've met so many people who have my experience, and the one thing they all had in common with themselves is they were either neurodivergent and autistic. Now, I won't label myself that because I don't know for sure. But when they're talking about their experiences, trying to build connections with people and feeling misunderstood and the things that they have endured, my God, the similarities make me want to get tested so bad. It's not even funny. Because I'm like, why am I struggling to build these connections? Now, I'm a very honest person. I'm also very direct. I am honest because I am terrible at lying. I have a family full of liars. That trait never got passed on to me. I don't know what it's about. I'm terrible at lying. I just rather just come out and say it. I don't really sugarcoat anything. And so I think that has played a huge role. Sometimes I am too honest for my own good. But I'm not going to change that. Like I said, family full of liars. I am very different from my family. So even at times in my family, at many times, I felt like I have not connected with them. What made me realize is, hey, I'm not just dealing with people. I'm dealing with their traumas, their jealousy, their insecurities, etc. Is the recent exchange I had with some girls that I became friends with a couple years ago. I would say I started hanging out with this girl because I seen her at my job. I said, I love her hair. I walk up to her. I'm like, I love your hair. I love the hair. I love people who express themselves through their hair. I love it. So she's like, oh, like I was kind of dressed kind of masculine around that time, mainly because that day my job had Western Day. So we had to all dress up pretty Western. Oh, I have great memory. Nothing gets by me. I remember dressing up very Western. I had on a lot of my father's pieces. And she's like, when she turns around and looks at me, she's like, ooh, I like your outfit. Now, I should have peeped something then. I should have peeped something then, but I didn't. I didn't peep it. And she's like, yeah, let's exchange Instagrams. So we exchanged Instagrams, and she's hitting me up to hang out, and we finally start to hang out. So we becoming friends. I will call her Big Red. Me and Big Red are becoming friends. We're hanging out pretty often. I don't know if we're texting as much. I don't got that good memory now. But I remember details and how I dress and how another person looks. We're talking all the time. We're hanging out. And she goes one day, hey, I'm going to this house party with my friend, let's say Golden. I'm like, cool. Like, okay. So I go to the party and I see Golden. I'm like, what's up, Golden? Now, Golden kind of took it the wrong way. I was just like, what's up? Because she told me that was her friend. So I was just like, oh, what's up, Red friend? Like, that's all I was. And Golden was like, oh, when we first met, I was kind of rubbed the wrong way because you were just like, oh, what's up, like, Red's friend. I was like, yeah, ain't you a friend? Like, I thought y'all had been friends for a while. She was like, no, like, the first day I met you was the first day I physically met her as well. I was like, oh, my fault, bro. So we're in this group, and they're introducing me to so many people in the art scene because I wasn't used to being in the art scene. Even though I am from this place, I'm not used to the art scene because I grew up again on the poor side. Now, I won't say I was in the hood, but I was hood adjacent, maybe. I don't know, I was hood adjacent, so I wasn't used to being around so many people who did what I did. I'm getting introduced to them, and this is how I'm finding out, like, my art is actually dope as crap, because I've always just made art to make art. It was never to be dope or feel dope. I just create. I've been creating my whole life. I'm getting introduced to all of these new people. We are at this point known as a trio. There are certain things I'm noticing in Big Red, mainly her victim mindset and her passive aggressiveness. She would make these very weird, off-putting, and sideways remarks or even jokes sometimes that everybody else would seem to ignore. But there are periods that she had said things that were so outside of her neck, I would have to look at her and check her and be like, what are you doing? What are you saying? You don't do that. I had to check her at times like that. And she'd be like, what? And me and her always had this weird disconnect. Especially when Golden got into the group, it became even worse. Mind you, before I even knew Golden, before I knew Red that way, before me and Red were even close, this girl's calling me, She needs help, I help her with no problem. Groceries in your house, you need rides, I'm giving you rides because you my friend. Mind you, I had this big ass GMC 2002 Big Mama Big Bertha. I would run around the city in Big Bertha, I ain't give a damn. So I had that. I'm picking her up, I'm dropping her off. Anything she needed, I would drop her off to her. Never gave me gas. Big Bertha is big, y'all. She was eating up gas, y'all. She was eating it up. Never gave me gas, but again, you are my friend, so no problem. I kind of started to notice our differences when all of us became pretty closely. She was pretty close to Golden. Now, and I was also pretty close to Golden because I felt like Golden understood me a little more. There were things her and Golden would talk about that I would find out after, and I'm like, whoa. They would hang out and I wouldn't even know. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't really think anything of it. I'm just like, y'all understand each other more than, I guess, more than I feel understood. I don't know. It was just like, I guess y'all understand each other more so y'all can relate to each other more. I'm going to let y'all have that. And it was just like that. I can remember, and I've always struggled with this when it came to group dynamics, how I would always feel left out in some way, shape, or form. There were many times where we had communications. I don't think I felt fully left out of what they were doing just because they would hang out and do certain things that they know I wasn't going to do. That's cool, but it was never communicated to me. There was a lot of things that were going on in that friendship, but I can remember we were building our friendship around 2023. And then I can remember around 2024, our friendship is getting closer, but also what is happening is my notoriety for my art is growing. I'm doing vendor events for the first time, and I'm making good money. I ended up getting offered like a $2,000 paint job for a church to come paint at. And I hired Golden because I seen Golden's painting work, and I was like, okay, it's decent, and I really need someone to come help me because I need to finish this project around a certain time. So I hired her, and I know Big Red feels some type of way about it, but it was really nothing personal. I never seen Big Red paint, and when I did, she just wasn't the person I was going to hire. And so around mid 2024, my life plummets. I mean, I'm getting these vendor events, and I'm getting this money, and I'm doing this paint job, and I'm getting the money for it. But my life just, in the mid 2024, I had to go back to 2023. At the end of 2023, my brother gets locked up on a murder charge for a murder he did not commit, but we are black in the South, and he was at the scene, and he was scared for his life, so he ran. You know how it goes. Mid 2024. I can't remember if I walked in the house. I think I got a text from my mom because at the time I was doing the paint job, I was also constantly going to the doctor to figure out what was going on because the doctor thought it was my ovaries, but turns out, and I didn't find this out till later, it was more so my gut. So I'm constantly going to the doctor. As me and Golden are finishing up one day, I get a random text from my mom. Hey, your brother's charges just went from 1 to 3. Now this rocks my world because family means everything to me, but I have to keep going. I go to the hospital, do my thing. That same week I walk into the house. It had to even be that same day. When I walk into the house, my mom goes, hey, your little cousin just shot himself. Now my little cousin, he's alive and well today, but he had just shot himself, and I can remember I went to the scene with my aunt. Very traumatic. So, of course, if you know anything, and then I had found out it was more so IBS. If you know anything about IBS, it is linked to your mind as well. So when you are stressed, it is worse. Now, I'm not only stressed, I am smoking and eddies every day, all day. I do not want to be sober. I am throwing up. I am losing so much weight. I can see my rib cage. I don't even want to look at myself in the mirror. And around this time, Red gets a boyfriend that she doesn't even like, but the dude is paying the bills. She's a very codependent person. I can remember her constantly calling me on the phone about people she has met and fell in love with the same month, and I'm like, that is literally impossible. You're not in love with them. This is an attachment. Again, I'm very honest. I'm going to be very direct. She called me because she was like, you are the only friend I have that will be honest with me, because I feel like everybody else is sugarcoating. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. So she gets this boyfriend, and she does this 180. I mean, she starts making these, she knows what's going on in my life. Now, I'm not deeply communicating with her because her vibe starts to get really off. The dude, again, he has the money to pay for shit. So her vibe becomes a little off. She's making jokes and shit about certain things when it pertains to me. Every time the boyfriend's around, a little slick ass joke about me. First, it starts with about Big Bertha, like you wasn't in her begging for rides. The entire time I knew this girl, she might have gave me $10 worth of gas. I put that. I have no reason to lie. She gets her boyfriend's truck. She's talking shit about my truck while I'm in the truck with her. But again, I'm going through so much. I'm like, no, my friend can't be doing this. My friend can't be doing this to me. The same girl I've been helping constantly can't be doing this to me. I'm hearing her on the phone with family members that I don't know but seem to know me, saying certain things about certain situations I got going on. And I'm like, what's happening? But again, I'm like, this girl can't hate me, bro. I done did so much for this girl. I done sat on the phone and listened to this girl cry. I done did so much for this girl. This cannot be true. This can't be real. And I think I was in such disbelief because I was going through so much around that time. And it was not only her acting weird towards me, I had family members happy to see me down. A lot of people around that time were smiling at me, but not with empathy. They were showing me their teeth. Siblings, literal siblings, cousins, aunts. I'm like, what is going on? So I don't think I could acknowledge her treating me bad because it will show me, like, you have siblings that don't even fuck with you for real, that are happy to see you in this state. These same people you have put on the pedestal and you have praised, that you fed so much light and help with no problem. I gave people the shirt off my back. I gave someone in my literal fucking bed. And I'm not even joking. So I'm like, they can't be doing me like this. No, she can't hate me. She can't. She can't hate me. And she's making these little jokes. And one day, I don't even think around this time I cared about that stuff. I was praying to God every night, breaking down on my knees for a peace of mind to save my cousin and my brother. Praying to God every single night about this. But something one night said, send it all back, God, please. I don't know. This not life. This got to be something else. Now, that's a different story. If you want that, I'll give it to you. But I also can remember God put it on my heart to say that prayer. People say, if you know prayer. That if that person is not meant to be in my life and these people are not meant to be in my life, remove them. And I said it, and I used Big Red's name. And the very next day, she ended the friendship and said it was toxic and blah, blah, blah. Now, during the friendship, I would come to Golden about how I felt about everything. And Golden would say, well, Monica, your tone can be off. And I get it. My tone is so off sometimes because of the environment I grew up in. I can be really aggressive. So I took that like, oh, it's me. If I change myself, maybe she'll change. So I always thought, maybe it's just my fault. Let me change. And so I would try to change. I didn't fully always blame her. And there were situations where I would be the one to speak. And after she ended the friendship, of course, Golden was really hurt. Golden's a very empathetic person. Very empathetic person. So she was really hurt. Me, I had already prayed that prayer. Around that time, I just kind of gave up. Not necessarily gave up, but I took a big step away from art and I got a job. So I was on my way to my job. I didn't give two shits. Because Red was acting really funky, phony, and everybody kept telling me, hey, maybe it's you. And I was changing me. Change yourself, change your environment. Okay, I'm changing myself. My environment not changing. Something's up. Something's up. It's not just me. But Golden is trying to communicate with her. She blocked us on everything. I'm like, cool, I gotta respect it. Move on with my life. Me and Golden gets very close. But for one, that friendship with Red showed me all those things. How neglect, how trauma, how abuse, how this and that plays into friendship on both ends. But as me and Golden gets close, I'm like, I finally found that one friend people were talking about. And I can remember months and months and months down the line, I get a dream. God puts it on my heart, shows me a dream of Golden and Red together at dinner. I put this on everything I love. Right before I woke up, God showed me that. Showed me them at dinner together, hugged up like this. And I say, should I tell Golden about this dream? And I make the decision that no, I'm not going to tell Golden about this dream. And so right when I decided not to, Golden sends me a message. Guess who texts my phone? And of course, I say who, and she tells me who, Red. So later down the line, she didn't really go into too much detail, but when we talked about it, she said how Red apologized to her. And I told Golden I would never be friends with Red again until she apologizes to you for how she was doing you. Now, you know those girls, and I get that every friendship or relationship is a relationship, but you know those girls that when you get involved with them, it feels like you are their man. And she was one of those girls also. And so she tried to do that with me. You couldn't do that with me. She would make these suggested comments. She said she thought I liked her when we first were friends because I complimented her. I'm like, your friends don't compliment you, Brody? They don't compliment you? And I can remember being at one of her birthday things, and they were doing, you know how you go to a kickback and they pull out the sexual games? Hate those kickbacks. Please, decorum. But she's like, oh, Nautica would be the one I would. No, absolutely not. But past that, she would try to do those things. She couldn't do that with me. She knows she couldn't do it with me because I made clear boundaries. Absolutely not. But she did it with Golden. And so I'm like, the way she would do Golden, and I seen some of their messages, I was like, I would never be friends with her again until she came to you directly and apologized to you, because that is sick. Now, she apologized to Golden. Golden said, hey, like I said, I understand, I respect it, blah, 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 blase squaze, but we cannot be friends right now. And I say, cool. I take a break off social media, and I can remember getting back on, and I click on Golden's story, because I never watched stories on Instagram. It just was never my thing. But something told me to click on her story, and I did. And the same dream I had was the same pictures I seen on Golden's story. And I was like, this is crazy. And me and Golden and her having conversations about this. And I said, I told you what she did to me. And she said, I don't remember. Can you tell me again? I'll tell her again. And today they are still close. So while Red's relationship taught me how your childhood and that trauma can affect you in friendship and your everyday life and how you move about it at a certain age, Golden's friendship taught me. Now, it hurt. It did. And I cannot lie. I looked at her very strange after that. She never understood why, but I did. And the people that was closest to her even said that shit was weird. So I knew I wasn't tripping. My mom said she would just have to see it for herself. A lot of people had their opinions to either cut her off now or she gonna have to see in her time. So I was really confused on what to do. And her friendship taught me, hey, some relationships aren't meant to be that deep. You barely know them. It takes a lot of you for you to trust people because of what you've been through. But some relationships aren't meant to be that deep. And I had to charge it up to the game because I considered ending that friendship for a while. But I was so used to doing that. When things didn't serve me, I would just leave. But I was like, no, I want to keep this person around. They're cool to hang out with. They introduced me to a lot of opportunities I wouldn't have been aware of if I didn't know them. But it taught me I had to take a huge step back. Because the way that I viewed them isn't the way that they viewed me. And although it hurt, it was a learned lesson. I would never say friendship is not worth it. You will have to put yourself out there. And the ways that I have done it was volunteering. I have met some great people volunteering. I've met some really great people just going to events that align with me and doing vendor events and things like that. But I've put myself out there to do so. There's so much I learned from both of those girls. And there are so many people I've met through them who I'm still pretty much cool with today, and I can hit up at any moment for advice when it comes to art, for advice when it comes to life, and we can just have really cool conversations. I've met some really dope people through them. So I can't just say those friendships weren't worth it, because they were. But boy, did I have an fucking experience. There was so much I learned from them that I was like, oh, I'm not just dealing with humans I want to be friends with. People come, a bag lady, you gon' hurt your bag. People come with bags, boy. They come with bags, and some of them will look at your ass and throw them bags on you. No, sir. There's so much you learn when it comes to building friendships later in life, but it is absolutely worth it. You will eventually find people who align with you. Boy, you gonna get, boy. you gonna go through some people, boy. I'm not gonna lie to you. You gonna go through some people. You gonna go through some people. But if you want friendship, it is worth it. It is worth it. There are some opportunities I would not have had if it wasn't for certain people I knew that I don't know anymore. And that's just the truth. But yeah, man. And I want to tell that story because I never told it. I just kind of let people rock with their own narrative. And I've always got painted as the bad guy. Especially because I was the only one speaking up. And Golden told me one time when people were asking us about the end of the friendship when it came to Red, hey, I kind of just let you talk because we had the same opinion and you would just be direct about it. And it painted me as the bad guy in many different moments. And that rubbed me the absolute wrong way. Because I'm like, you just kind of letting me take the fall, it feels like. That's a whole nother thing. And I don't even know what I was talking about. Maybe I just need to get that off my chest too. But people had painted me as the bad guy. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't really do anything. Like, I was actively trying in those relationships. I actively was trying. Nobody can say I wasn't, because I was. When people came to me and told me their problems, even if I felt like, I still was like, okay, I see your point and I do apologize and I will try. And I absolutely did try. When people say, oh, you acting just like your dad and your mama, oh my God, shook my body and made me recoil and made me rethink and made me rewrite and made me retype. Because I don't want to act like them at all. But I was trying. And I still try today. It is worth it to build connections, but only if you want them. And you have to put yourself out there to do so. And you cannot be afraid of getting hurt, or you will never be able to do it. Well, yeah, that's really all I got. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, man. Stay tuned for more.